The sky over Florida shivered. 60,000 faces tilted upward as a raw, thunder-boned roar tore across the air show. It wasn't the polished scream of the Blue Hawks. It was older, wilder, history ripping the sky open. A mirror-bright P-51 Mustang knifed over the crowd, Merlin engine howling, sun flashing from aluminum skin. Gasps burst. Phones lunged. The announcer's cadence fractured mid-sentence. Then, riding the open frequency like a flare, a woman's voice the world had already buried. This is Lieutenant-Colonel Jessica Marlo. I am not dead, and today I will tell you the truth. Before we roll the tape, tell us where you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments. You're tuned to Grateful Stories, where we document courage, compassion, and the people who refuse to disappear. Now, let's unpack what really happened that day. The morning over Clearwater was flawless, blue as enamel, heat trembling above the tarmac. Naval Base Clearwater throbbed with noise, 60,000 spectators crowding the stands, waiting for the Blue Hawks. Music hammered. Kids waved flags. Cameras skimmed the sea of faces. Vendors hawked caps and toy jets over the clatter. Reporters rehearsed under glare-bright lights, makeup beating into sweat. The announcer rolled his voice like drums. Prepare to witness the Navy's finest. Then the sound bent, no turbine's clean whistle, no jet slicing the horizon. Rougher, older, like thunder dragged through steel. Heads pivoted. Conversations snapped shut. Even the announcer stumbled, voice cracking to silence. From the far reach of sky, a silver prickle appeared and grew, sunlight glancing off polished aluminum. The roar deepened, window glass shuddering along the runway. A P-51 Mustang. The warbird tore the field in half, prop screaming, skimming so low the air itself seemed to ripple over skin. 1,000 small shocks. Phones leapt skyward, hands shaking. This was not on any schedule. The Mustang climbed, banking hard above the grandstands, wings flashing, engine growling, everybody on their feet, yoked by its gravity. Then came the broadcast, calm, female, on the open net for anyone with a radio or a feed. This is Lieutenant-Colonel Jessica Marlo. I am not dead. I am here to tell the truth. A silence like a dropped curtain swept the base. Her name hit like a hammer. Jessica Marlo, the pilot court-martialed for treason 9 years back, branded a traitor accused of selling secrets, marched out in disgrace. The trial was spectacle, the scandal burned white-hot. Then, just as suddenly, a reported death, training accident, fiery crash, no remains. Case closed. World moved on. Yet here she was, carving contrails in front of 60,000 witnesses. Gasps became shouts. Press scrummed. Live feeds detonated. The Mustang's silver wings flooded screens around the country. In the VIP pavilion, Admiral Victor Hail's smile cracked. A second earlier, his medals glittered and cameras bathed him. Now his jaw locked, knuckles whitening against wood. Jessica Marlo, his creation and his scapegoat, was airborne again. She pitched the Mustang into a sudden climb, rolled to a knife-edge pass, wings vertical, the fuselage sliding sideways, less than 200 feet from the crowd. A stunt no one sane would try in a 70-year-old fighter. Reckless. Impossible. Perfect. Only Jessica Marlo flew like that. For Hail, the sight was poison. He buried her under lies, scraped her name from history, painted her as the threat. Now, every camera on Earth watched her rise. 9 years earlier, she'd found what no one was supposed to. Funds siphoned. Contracts rigged. Witnesses quieted. Hail reversed the charge, branded her the traitor, and slammed the door. Her career ended. Her life erased. He thought the fire had gone cold. But Jessica survived. Nearly a decade as Rachel Owens, drifting from town to town, trusted by no one and trusting nobody, speaking little, leaving no roots. That half-life would have swallowed her, if not for Admiral Evelyn Harding. Harding had mentored her long before the fall. She spent years sifting ashes for unburned facts, chasing fragments Hail's people missed. One night, she found Jessica at the edge of vanishing. "We know you're innocent," Harding said, laying evidence on a table, coded ledgers, ghosted transfers, orders bearing Hale's hand. "We need you back." Jessica tried to refuse. She was done with uniforms, done with salute and ceremony, with oaths twisted thin. Then Harding showed her what the corruption cost, not just treason, but murder. Hale had ordered men killed, among them Captain Daniel Harland, the one who had tried to speak. She stared at the pages until rage warmed like a coal. Then she nodded once. The plan began. They built Quiet, Jake Harland, Blue Hawk's pilot, with his father's shadow behind his eyes. Nora Ellis, combat medic whose steady hands had zipped too many bags caused by graft. Walter Briggs, a graying engineer who hid the files Hale thought destroyed. Marcus Keene, intelligence officer turned exile, willing to burn his last bridge. They met in neglected warehouses, voices low over maps and radio scab with tape. Each carried scars Hale left. Each wanted justice. They would not come back through a courtroom door or with a late-night leak. They'd do it where the country was already watching, the sky. Jessica would cut through the Blue Hawk's air show with the kind of flying nobody else could fake. Walter would dump the archive in real time, evidence flooding every newsroom and oversight server at once. And if Hale tried to swat a ghost from the air, Jake would stand between. The night before, they gathered under the rattling bulb in Hangar 12. Floodlights painted the Mustang in quicksilver, the Tuskegee red and yellow slash like flame. Walter pressed a weathered jacket into Jessica's hands. "Your grandfather's," he said, "Captain Samuel Marlo. He fought fascists in this very bird. It's yours now." Inside the jacket pocket, a folded, yellowed page, in a steady hand, her grandfather's note. "Fear is only the shadow of courage." She closed her fist around the paper. Morning turned the base into a carnival. Traffic jammed for miles. Security lines snaked. Vendors barked. Children clambered over static displays, tanks, helicopters, a forest of flags. In the hangar's shadow, Walter torqued the last bolts. Fuel topped, controls trimmed. "She'll fly like she remembers," he said, breath shallow but hands exact. Jessica ran her palm along cold aluminum. The Tuskegee stripes caught the sun. "This is my last flight," she whispered. At the far fence, Hale arrived in a motorcade. Flashbulbs popped as he stepped out in full dress, shaking hands with senators and contractors. He smiled for the lens, every inch the Patriot. No one saw the fury coiling under the medals. By noon the stands boiled. The announcer worked the crowd to a fever. Behind the curtain, Harding checked her earpiece. "Final check," she said. "Walter?" "All systems primed." "One keystroke and the dam breaks," he replied, fingers ghosting keys. "Keen. Air traffic's half bought, but I can jam and stall." 5 minutes, he said. "After that, interceptors are coming." "Jake." In the saddle, he said from the flight line, helmet under his arm. "If Hale says shoot, they'll have to shoot me first." Harding's gaze found Jessica last. "Ready?" Jessica pulled down her goggles, heart pounding steady. "Let's finish it." Engines thundered. The Blue Hawks rolled, afterburners glowing, blue and gold jets clawing into the noon. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer cried, "the pride of the United States Navy, your Blue Hawks." The crowd surged to its feet. Perfect arcs scored the sky. In the shadow of Hangar 12, Jessica eased the throttle forward. The Mustang shuddered awake, prop biting air. She rolled into sunlight. The ghost stepped out of hiding. "Window starts now," Harding said. "Make it count." The Mustang leapt down the runway and into heat-bright air. The crowd didn't notice, yet. Their eyes tracked the diamond climb of 6F/A1HS etching white scars into blue. Then a voice cut the open frequency, low and sure. "This is Ghost Falcon requesting to join on the left echelon." The Hawk's lead stiffened. Ghost Falcon was a name scrubbed from rosters. Before he could answer, Jake's voice snapped in. Heritage protocol. Ghost Falcon cleared. The half-second of hesitation was all she needed. A silver knife blade rocketed in from the east. The Mustang screamed across the field, pulled up into a tight arc, sunlight strobing across the canopy. The announcer stalled mid-breath. The crowd rose as one, phones trembling. They understood instinctively this was not rehearsed. Jessica ripped a low pass that peeled hats and rattled banners, then pitched into a maneuver etched in lore. The Marlo spiral, an impossibly tight corkscrew climb that bled no speed. Only one living pilot could carve it clean. The ghost was real. Her voice carried everywhere, every headset, every stream. 9 years ago, I was accused of treason. Here's the truth. Admiral Victor Hail is the traitor. He sold our secrets. He silenced those who spoke. He will answer today. Chaos rippled the stands. Live captions trailed her words across national feeds. In the VIP pavilion, Hail's mask dropped. He snatched a comm, his order ablaze. All aircraft, this is Admiral Hail. Ghost Falcon is hostile. Destroy her immediately. Jake replied before anyone else. Negative. Anyone who fires on Ghost Falcon goes through me. His Hornet slid in front of the Mustang. The stadium fell into a hush so sharp it hurt. Loyalty split the sky. One by one, the Hawks followed. Blue 2 shifted, then blue 3, then the rest. A wall of blue and gold locked around the silver relic, an honor guard turned shield. On Hale's word, MacDill scrambled 6 F-15s. Afterburners stitched white fire over the bay. Missiles hung under gray wings. Orders rode their headsets like a curse. Harding's voice cut through on the emergency net. Intercept group, this is Admiral Evelyn Harding, authorization Delta 7. Hold your fire until confirmation. Now, the fighter pilots heard 2 authorities. Fingers hovered over switches. Temple sweat pooled under helmets. In the stands, 100,000 texts sprinted, headlines blooming faster than jets moved. Evidence, dump live. Hail, accused. 9 years of cover-up. Walter's system had cracked open minutes earlier. Contracts, intercepts, signatures marched across screens. Jessica's words came with receipts. In the lead F-15, a pilot framed the Mustang in the pipper. His thumb settled, then paused. The Tuskegee stripes flashed, red and yellow history. He swallowed. MacDill, Viper lead, he said, voice tight, request clarification. I'm not firing on a war hero over 60,000 civilians. Hale's fury blasted back, hot enough to scald. That's an order. Destroy her or face court-martial. But the channel was open, and now the world heard him try to bury truth with missiles. Blue Hawks, hold. Jake said, common Flint. Ghost Falcon stays covered. Copy, said Blue 2. Sarah Collins, adding steel to the signal. No one fires on an unarmed aircraft telling the truth. Her words hit every feed. A chorus followed. Copy, copy, copy. The shield tightened. Sirens cut across the field. A flash hammered the VIP pavilion, heat washing the grandstands, smoke punching through the blue. Panic rolled in waves. Hail had played his last card, but Harding had moved the seats minutes prior. The only people caught in the blast were Hale's own enforcers coughing in their suits. Plainclothes agents surged from the perimeter, badges flashing. Federal agents. Rifles leveled. Hail lunged for a service gate, metals clattering. He swung once, clumsy, desperate. 2 agents folded him to asphalt, cuffs biting while cameras closed in. National security requires ugly choices, he hissed jaw tight. To keep the machine running, you grease it. The line fell dead, swallowed by sirens and lenses. Over the chaos, the Mustang settled. Final approach, wheels kissing asphalt, rolling true. The Hawks taxied around her, drawing a ring of blue and gold. Jessica popped the canopy and stood squinting into sun. The crowd roared. Not celebration, but release, fear unwinding at last. Jake ran in from the line, helmet tucked beneath his arm. He stopped a step away. My father gets his name back, he said, voice strangled but steady. Jessica nodded, eyes wet. So, do you? Within the hour, chain of custody teams locked the field. Walter mirrored data to federal servers, allied nodes, and a half-dozen major newsrooms. Keen coordinated warrants, signatures in sealed dockets cracking open on cue. By morning, raids hit offices from Arlington to San Diego. Accounts froze. Phones were seized. Shredders jammed mid-page. Retired flag officers woke to knocks that ended old careers with new charges. Under hard lights, Washington convened. Jessica stood at the witness table, right hand raised, rank restored. She told the truth with the same precision she flew. Nora Ellis presented quiet charts of falsified autopsies and blast pattern matches. Keene walked called trees and burner rotations that curved back to Hale's ring. Walter translated ledgers into lines of code and dollars. Jake described a moment a lawful oath outweighs an unlawful order. The Constitution isn't a suggestion, he said, palms on wood. When an order breaks it, a pilot's duty is to refuse. Hale's defense argued inevitability. Rule-less adversaries, fragile deterrents, necessary evils. He named murders containment and kickbacks operational attitude. Then the committee played a recording. Hale's voice, low and unmistakable, authorizing an accident for a scheduled witness. Silence hit harder than the gavel. Verdicts stormed in: conspiracy, procurement fraud, obstruction, murder. Sentences stacked until years turned to lifetimes. Not everyone went quietly. A colonel bargained with a hidden server. A consultant swapped testimony for a map of shell corporations crossing oceans. Reforms moved with the arrests. Procurement split from command influence. Civilian auditors got teeth. Whistleblower protections gained funding, day one counsel, and real anonymity. Jessica's name was cleared in daylight, not a footnote. The president signed a full pardon and pinned a commander's oak leaf to her collar. The Navy offered her the Blue Hawk's top slot. She shook her head. "I've logged the hours I needed," she said softly. "My next mission is keeping others from being erased." The Marlo Institute for Military Integrity opened in a narrow brick building 3 blocks from the Capitol. Encrypted hotlines glowed within days, then weeks, then constantly. Lawyers, analysts, and medics filled halls that smelled like coffee and paper and resolve. Nora ran a clinic on the 2nd floor, treating injuries you can't scan but must not ignore. Walter built a data lab downstairs, teaching young analysts to make numbers testify. Keene became the quiet compass, what to send, where, and when it matters. Harding retired to a small house near the water. She walked at dawn, kept her phone close, and answered when it rang. Victories taste better, she'd say, when shared quietly. Jake took command of the Blue Hawks and rewrote the pre-flight brief. Fuel, weather, then 5 minutes on lawful orders and moral courage. Pilots listened. Some nodded. All understood. Syllabi changed at the academies. Case studies of the Clearwater day replaced sanitized hypotheticals. New lieutenants learned the difference between loyalty and complicity before they learned parade turns. A year later, the Mustang hung from a museum ceiling, polished to mirror. Kids stood underneath with mouths open while docents pointed at the red and yellow stripes. The plaque didn't list battles, it listed principles. Time did what time does. Cases were won, some lost, none ignored. The Institute kept a wall of names, people who stepped forward and were still standing. 10 years after Clearwater, the base opened its gates to a different crowd. No vendor tents, no jet smoke, just dress uniforms and quiet shoes on cement. A memorial stood in clean shade, chiseled letters catching morning light. Captain Daniel Harlan's name was centered. Beside it, another stone honored the living who refused the wrong order. Among the carved, Commander Jessica Marlo, recognized, not erased. Jake traced his father's name, thumb in the groove. Jessica stood beside him, the silver in her hair taking the sun. They didn't talk. They didn't need to. Cadets gathered at a respectful distance, caps under arms. They'd watched the footage in ethics class the day jets chose conscience. Now Stone made it real. A bugler played. Flags dipped. A breeze moved soft, careful not to press too hard on the names. Reporters waited outside the gate and stayed there. Some moments are too clean to sell. Afterward, Jessica walked alone into the museum. The Mustang waited above, quiet, patient, lighter than it looked in war. She could still feel the stick in her hand and the letter in her pocket. She looked up into the canopy's reflection and let out a slow breath. Truth doesn't stay buried, she said, not a prayer, more a promise. It wasn't for the crowd or the cameras or even the past. It was for the next voice on the hotline, for the pilot in a ready room who would hear a wrong order and pause, for the young analyst just learning that facts can fly farther than fear. Light poured through tall windows and ran down the Mustang's skin. Red and yellow glowed like coals. Metal cannot live, but it can remember for us. Outside, the sky over Clearwater was an easy blue. No smoke, no sirens, just air enough for anyone ready to rise.